I told you there is a simple method to accelerate your investment growth by focusing on high APY, annual percentage yield? I know what it's like to finish a long shift, barely have any time to breathe, and to be stuck repeating the same week all over again. That's why I had to find a better way for myself, for my daughter, and for anyone tired of trading time for survival. One of the most powerful money strategies that I believe in is to leverage Bitcoin by actively investing in the Bitcoin cycles using long-term swing trades. The Bitcoin halving is an event that takes place every 4 years. Each time it happens, new Bitcoin entering the circulation gets cut in half. Bitcoin operates as a decentralized network of transactions, verified by miners competing to earn blocks. When a block gets added to the chain, the network rewards those miners in Bitcoins. As of the most recent halving, that reward is 3.125 Bitcoins per block. Every 4 years, that number is slashed again, which means fewer and fewer coins are created each cycle. That matters because Bitcoin has a limited supply. Only 21 million coins will ever exist. And as we get closer to approaching that limit, the supply dries up while the demand keeps growing. And when the demand rises, but the supply shrinks, what happens? The price goes up. Now that we understand why the halving affects Bitcoin's price, how exactly does that benefit us? The key concept is this: the halving creates a cycle. As the supply growth rate of Bitcoin declines, the price of Bitcoin rises. Then, human nature kicks in: greed when prices rise, and fear when prices decline. This creates predictable patterns, bull runs and bear markets. By studying the price history of these cycles, we can identify ideal times to enter and exit. And this is where the cheat code comes in. When everyone else is riding on emotions, you'll be moving with strategy. There have been 4 Bitcoin halving events that have happened thus far. The first halving happened on November 28, 2012 at a price of $12 per Bitcoin. The second halving happened on July 9, 2016 at a price of $650 per Bitcoin. The third halving happened on May 11, 2020 at a price of $8,500 per Bitcoin. And the most recent halving happened on April 20th, 2020 at a price of $63,800 per Bitcoin. Let's review the highs and lows of each cycle. So for cycle 1, we could pretty much say that the low happened when it first began to be actively traded. And the high happened on November 30th, 2013 at a price of $1,150. For cycle number 2, the low happened on January 14th, 2015 at a price of only $170. The high had happened on December 17th, 2017 at a price of $19,800. For cycle number 3, the low had happened on December 15th, 2018 at a price of $3,200. The high had happened on November 8th, 2021 at a price of $67,500. For cycle number 4, the current cycle, we've seen a low on November 21st, 2022 at a price of $15,800. As for the high, that's yet to be determined, but stick around towards the end of this video if you like my personal prediction. As you can see from this data, there is kind of like a rhythm going on. What's happening is that Bitcoin will drop really hard, but then it will rebound just a few years later to new all-time highs. So how do we define these cycles? Well, bear cycles are downtrends that begin at the top of a cycle to its very bottom. These are how the past bear cycles played out. So for bear cycle number 1, it began on November 30th, 2013 and ended on January 14th, 2015. Bear cycle number 2 began on December 17th, 2017 and ended on December 15th, 2018. Bear cycle number 3 began on November 8th, 2021 and ended on November 21st, 2022. And now for the bull cycles. This is where the real wealth is made. These are the uptrends from bear market lows to new all-time highs. So for bear cycle number 1, we could pretty much say that it started at the inception, and it ended on November 30th, 2013. For bull cycle number 2, it began on January 14th, 2015, and it ended on December 17th, 2017. For bull cycle number 3, it began on December 15th, 2018, and ended on November 8th, 2021. For bull cycle number 4, it began on November 21st, 2022 it's still ongoing, and we actually might be in the final stages of this bull cycle right now. So are you paying attention? So why does this price action matter? Well, it's because these cycles tend to repeat. By recognizing the patterns, we can make educated projections, not guesses. Historically, Bitcoin tends to bottom 16 months before each halving event, and Bitcoin tends to peak between 16 to 18 months afterwards. By following these patterns, we could predict that Bitcoin is going to top out somewhere between August to November of 2025. I personally expect Bitcoin's peak to fall more in the later end of that range. And once Bitcoin peaks, that's going to be the end of this bull cycle, and it's going to be the start of the next bear cycle. And this bear cycle, it's likely going to end probably in late 2026, or it might even extend until early 2027. And here's a key concept I want to share with you guys. So bear cycles tend to be short. Typically, they're only 1 year in length. Whereas bull cycles are longer, they tend to be 3 years in length. Considering we are in the 3rd year of bull cycle number 4, that makes this year a window of opportunity, a year to stack Bitcoin and related assets. And then sell before the year end, before greed collapses again. Look at the pattern: Q4 2013, Q4 2017, Q4 2021. The peak always happens towards the end of the year. So what's next? Q4 2025, Q4 2029, Q4 2033. Look, I'm simply adding 4 years to account for the length of the halving cycle. And every time, you sell high during the mania. And 1 year later, you buy back when fear floods the market. And that's how you build wealth, not by hype, but by rhythm. Bitcoin's growth has been exponential, but the returns are gradually diminishing. Still, double-digit or even triple-digit returns are still possible this decade. A physicist's power law model suggests that Bitcoin can reach 10 million by 2045. That's an average return of over 30% per year. But trading the cycles, capturing both the peaks and the crashes, that could push your APY closer to 100%. Let me show you what doubling your money each year looks like. So starting off with year 0, you have $1,000. Year 1, $2,000. Year 2, $4,000. Year 3, $8,000. If you just accumulate and hold Bitcoin over the long term, you'll probably do pretty well. But if you trade the cycles with discipline, you open the door to much higher returns. Most beginners tend to profit in bull markets, but surviving a bear market? That takes strategy. You could sell into cash to protect your profits, use short selling, or even short the market using put options or inverse ETFs. Short selling generally means betting to the downside. It's kind of like the complete opposite of buying a stock, because you're not making money when the asset appreciates. You're actually making money when the asset depreciates. Now, short selling doesn't come without any risks. Unfortunately, it carries high borrow fees. You risk being on a margin call and potentially losing more than 100% of your original investment. Personally, I prefer sticking to just like spot Bitcoin ETFs or even ticker symbol MSTR, MicroStrategy, or more recently known as Strategy. Now let's take a deeper look. This system isn't just about holding, it's about rotating. It's about compounding your gains cycle after cycle. To visualize that, let me show you what doubling your money each year for 20 years looks like using the same $1,000 starting point. Year 0, 1,000. Year 1, 2,000. Year 2, 4,000. Year 3, 8,000. Year 4, 16,000. Year 5, 32,000. Year 6, 64,000. Year 7, 128,000. Year 8, 256,000. Year 9, 512,000. Year 10, 1.024 million. Year 11, 2 million. Year 12, 4 million. Year 13, 8 million. Year 14, 16 million. Year 15, 32 million. Year 16, 65 million. Year 17, 131 million. Year 18, 262 million. Year 19, 524 million. Year 20, 1.048 billion. As you can see, $1,000 becomes $1 billion in 20 years. Even if you're still off by 99%, that is still $10 million. Here's how I plan to trade this cycle. For this current 2025 bull cycle, I plan to accumulate MicroStrategy shares until August 2025. For the 2025 bear cycle that happens later this year, I plan to sell all Bitcoin-related assets and to hold a 70% position in cash. I'll use 25% on in-the-money puts, like for ticker symbols MSTU, MSTX, BITX, or MARA. And I might even allocate 5% to MSTZ shares. For the 2026 to the 2027 bull cycle, so that's the next bull cycle that will start once the bear cycle ends, I plan to buy 70% MicroStrategy shares, 20% I'll allocate towards the Bitcoin spot ETFs, and 10% I might buy some long-dated MicroStrategy call options. With investing just $100 a month into a system refined around swing trading the bear and bull cycles, you could potentially become a millionaire within 3 halving cycles, even with diminishing returns occurring. And timing matters. As of currently, nearly 95% of the total supply of Bitcoin has been mined. And by the year 2032, that number is going to raise to 99%. Michael Saylor, the CEO of Strategy, refers to this period as the Bitcoin Gold Rush. And it'll take until the year 2140 to mine that final 1%. That's 108 years to extract the last silver of digital gold. And as a thank you for sticking around till the end, here's my personal prediction for what I believe the price of Bitcoin will reach in 2025. I believe Bitcoin will peak between 140 to 160,000 to end this 3-year bull run. What do you think? Leave your predictions in the comments below. If you're ready to break out of the system and build wealth on your terms, subscribe to this channel. We're not here to chase hype, we're here to chase freedom one cycle at a time. My name is Isaiah. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time and I hope you have an amazing day.